Hello, I'm going to make a case that Donald Trump is a fascist. I'm going to draw upon history and some scholarly works on what defines fascism. Unfortunately, fascism is a very vague, nebulous kind of philosophy, but there are some major tenets that I think are basically undeniable that they apply to Donald Trump. Notice I am not calling Donald Trump a communist because there's not a lot of communist tenets that would apply to Donald Trump. But fascism, there are many. First off, you have the single sole solitary leader. Now, this is not particularly fascist, but it is an essential part of fascism. You have one leader. I, I got a I got a dry erase board here because there's one thing I am is well funded. I have a budget you would not believe. I got new markers and everything. Anyways, so we have single solitary leader. Sorry, I should have edited out the time that I'm writing this. I'll just put leader over here. Which goes into the second thing that this mystical person is going to restore his country to greatness. Now, why is that important? It's because this guy's going to lie. And this is not really a lie, but it's perfectly ambiguous and vague to say you're going to make the country great again. Um, if you say, I'm going to make the country great again, and then somebody argues with you on that, it's like, why? You don't want to make the country great again? What's wrong with you? Why are you betraying? Why do you hate America or hate Germany or? So it becomes, you can't really debate the idea. You can't argue against it, or else you are seen as opposing the idea of making America great. Except here's the whole problem with these slogans, and there's no explanation on what made America great, at what time are you referring to, and furthermore, more importantly, there's no explanation on how you're going to get there. But in all fascist movements, including Adolf Hitler and Mussolini, the two best known fascists, there was always this idea that you're going to restore the country to greatness. I just watched a documentary on Adolf Hitler, narrated by Mike Wallace, and he said these words. Hitler rose to power, promising that he would restore Germany's greatness. Um, this was way before Trump got into politics, but this is what it has always been known amongst educated people, that Hitler had this promise that he's going to make America, make Germany great again, in so many words. Um, but like I said, it is a vague and ambiguous goal with no details on how it's going to be implemented or even what you're trying to implement. It's perfectly vague, ambiguous, and nebulous. So it can't be debated, but it sure as hell works on simple minded people. Um, anyways, the where fascism comes from, the Italian word fasces is that little axe thing. I don't know if you've seen it. I could try to draw you one, but it's like something along these lines. It's got I'm a really bad artist, but they, I don't know if you can see that. Um, that's kind of the symbol that Mussolini created to symbolize fascism. And the only reason why I bring that up and try to show it to you is because Mussolini also was referring to the ancient Roman people as the people of Italy, and he's going to somehow bring that back, that great Roman Empire. Um, so, this is one of the tenets of fascism. You have a single leader, and you have restore the country to greatness. I'm going to say restore the nation. The nation's greatness. Whee! Let's see. 3, this is the other big one, is these guys lie a lot, the fascists. They live in this mythical world that isn't really tethered to reality. Um, so, in order to do this, you have to tell the people a lot of lies. And like I said, restoring the country to greatness isn't really a lie. It's just, it doesn't mean anything. Um, but you're going to also have to tell people lies about yourself. That, you're the greatest person who ever came along. The country is so happy that should be happy that you came along to save it from whatever was so bad about it. And there's always an attack on liberal democracy in these situations. And the most, uh, one of the clearest attacks, one of the most, um, maybe should have rehearsed this, is the attack on the free media or the free press. Um, and the reason why you have to delegitimize the media is because the free press, that's their job, is to retrain, keep the politicians honest, retain some truth. The only job the press has is to go to you, the people, and say, that's a lie. Okay, so we got delegitimize the press. Single solitary leader, restore the nation's greatness, delegitimize the press. This is it has always happened with fascism. And I'm sure you can see the similarities to the MAGA movement. Um, just for uh, just so you know, um, Lugenpresse, Lugenpresse. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't speak German. My pronunciation is horrible. I apologize to all the Germans out there. But the the word that Hitler used was Lugenpresse. That means lying press. And of course, Donald Trump calls the press the enemy of the people. This is, to me, that right there, he should have been impeached when he attacked the press as a whole. Not He didn't say the LA Times ran a piece about me that was all lies. He said the entire press, the entire media establishment is the enemy of the people. He made them to be the bad guys. And the reason why he did this is obvious. If you're going to tell lies to people, you can't have a free press going around and correcting you. So he convinces his people, I'm not lying to you. They're lying to you. And I'm not going to give you any reason on why they would lie to you, except they're out to get me. So when you have the free press as the villain of truth and the sole solitary leader that we're talking about as the true uh, bringer of truth, that only his word is to be believed, um, then you start to slip into fascism. Uh, I just have to say to, if you're a MAGA person out there and you think that the media lies to you more than Donald Trump lies to you, you're a moron. That's, you're an idiot. You haven't been following what Donald Trump has been telling you, because that guy lies a lot. He lied about Obama's birth certificate. That's how he got into politics. And then he lied about the 2020 election. He just says these things and you believe it without, I'm not saying the media is always perfect, but I swear to God, they lie to you a lot less than Donald Trump lies to you. But that's just an aside. Personally, as an American, you never ever condemn the free press. It's the First Amendment. Our founding fathers fought, bled, and died for you to have access to the free press. Don't disparage them. If you think your media is lying to you, get different media. Listen to a different source. We're all going to have to be dependent on media somehow. I I don't understand what's going on in Ukraine except for what the media tells me, and I'm kind of I'm a I'm I don't want to say I'm a slave to that, but I'm not really in the uh, oh boy. I am at the mercy of the free press to bring me information in a professional way, the way that good journalists do. They tell you what, when, why, where, and how. They don't editorialize, although editorializing can be part of good press, good journalism. Um, but still, we're all at the mercy of getting our outside information through some source of media. We don't read tea leaves to find out what's happening in Ukraine. We don't use our psychic powers. We have to listen to the news, and there's news that you trust and news that you don't. The Russian media, I wouldn't trust them to give me honest account. Anyway, so press is a good thing. Free press it's a very, very good thing, and no American president should be attacking it unless they're fascist. Anyways, so you don't ever condemn the free press. Now, these are the big things, the big three. Um, low budget. These are the big three things that tie Donald Trump to fascism. However, I'm going to go into more detail because these are all kind of vague. I think we can all agree that Donald Trump fits these like a glove, but they're not. They're so vague. A lot of totalitarian regimes, Pol Pot and uh, Stalin, would fit these. It's Stalin wouldn't delegitimize the press; he just owned the press, and that's different. But La Pravda. Um, there's still these three vague things. Now I'm going to go into Umberto Eco's more um, detailed view of fascism, more explanatory, but also, uh, I think, more particular to Donald Trump. Okay, first off, these are in parts of the 3 to 8 on Umberto Eco's lists of um, fascist behavior. I'm not saying the other ones don't apply. I just think that they're a little bit more ambiguous. And I just want to get these three down. So, as the fourth goes, or the fourth, eh, first off, the cult of action. Action should be taken without intellectual reflection. Anti intellectualism manifests in attacks on modern science and culture. I think we can all agree that during the pandemic, Trumpers were kind of the anti science movement. The vaccines were bad because there's a plot to put in, these um, something in the 5G or something from what's his name, Bill Gates, to and that brings me to the another one of his assertions of fascism is the obsession with a plot. Now, if you have a fascist and people are going to say, this guy's not telling us the truth, or this guy promises to make the country all perfect and great and wonderful, but he's not. I mean, it's not getting any better. Well, then you're going to have somebody to blame, and you're going to have a scapegoat. And that's where the obsession with the plot comes in, because there's always going to be some crazy plot by the media, by Joe Biden, by Kamala Harris, by Hillary Clinton, by the Democrats, Obama, by rhinos. There's always some plot to take out Trump. They never explain why they go to such lengths to, get this one guy. But of course, that comes down to this: only this one guy will save the country. And so it's always going to be, you're going to have to explain why this guy is being persecuted, and there's always going to be a plot. And you look at Nazi Germany and how many times there was plots against Adolf Hitler's life, but there's also just so many insane plots that the Nazis made up and they just got away with. And that's part of the scapegoating uh, aspect of fascism, is that it's always somebody else's fault. And with Germany, it was obviously the Jews. It was always a Jewish plot. The Jews were somehow plotting to get Hitler, and how they did it, well, I don't know. If you look at Rudolf Hess's life, oh my God! I mean, this guy is, talk about conspiracy theories. This guy, the fucking bullshit this guy came up with was just he. I'll just tell you a little bit about Rudolf Hess, because this guy flew into England after Germany was starting to lose the war, and he um, flew his plane into England. I'm not making this up, to surrender to the British, to get them to sign an armistice and peace with the British. And he actually said that the Jews made Germany attack Russia. It wasn't Hitler. It was the Jews somehow got Germany to attack. I mean, this is the kind of like crazy, like, obviously the British just locked him up, and he lived a long time after that, which is kind of sad because that guy was one of the most high ranking Nazis with Adolf Hitler from the beginning. I think he dictated Mein Kampf. I mean, he took dictation from Mein Kampf. Anyway, which one are we on now? Disagreement is treason. Yeah, that kind of goes in line. I mean, the one thing that Republicans can't do, and now Democrats can't do because they lost the election, is they can't disagree with Donald Trump. If Donald Trump says that it's raining outside, then it's raining outside. And if the media says, no, it's not raining outside, the media is in part of this big plot to, because they're the enemy of the people. The truth is not what the media is going after. the media is going after Donald Trump, and this is just stupid. It gets to be ludicrous really quick, and that's fascism for you. Anyways, disagreement is treason. Fear of difference. This is the most obvious one. Umberto Eco says often in the form of racism or appeal against foreigners or immigrants. Often in the form of racism or an appeal against foreigners or immigrants. This is Umberto Eco talking. This isn't me. This is somebody who was a scholar way back when, Italian, who lived under Mussolini. I don't know if he was. I think he lived under Mussolini, but I'm not sure. And he's freaking nailing Donald Trump. This whole Donald Trump never shuts up about illegal immigrants. They're coming to eat your pets. They're coming to take your jobs, kill you, rape you. Fear these illegal immigrants. And most of these MAGA idiots, they don't even see an illegal immigrant throughout their day. Yet they believe this stuff. They believe that illegal immigrants are flying around in planes and, eating caviar and going, ha, 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 ha. The government gives me all this. And meanwhile, they're taking all your tax money, which, by the way, most of you MAGA people, you don't pay any federal income taxes, you idiots. You don't. Anyways, the fear of the immigrants and the fear of the other is essential to fascist movements. There is this idea that the nation is a racial and hereditary group, that something, you've had these traits passed down to you through your literal fathers, not founding fathers, but like your literal father. This was not what America was set up to be, by the way. We never had any racial identity. You can be Japanese and be an American. You can be black and be an American. You can be, have your ancestors from wherever, and technically you're supposed to be American. And Donald Trump would say things like, it's poisoning the lifeblood of our country, of our nation, immigrants. It's like, well, wait a second, we're all immigrants. There is no lifeblood to America. We all come from all over the world. You can't poison the lifeblood of America because there is none. It's not about your hereditary. That was the whole thing. It's, every man is created equal. It doesn't matter that you came from the king or the monarchy that the founding fathers fought against. It wasn't done through lineage like that. It was done through, who are you as a person? Anyways, another aspect of fascism that Donald Trump falls into, fear of difference, appeal to a frustrated middle class. Oh, yeah. Appeal to a frustrated middle class. And I can't tell you how many times Donald Trump has gone out and said this or that about how the economy's so bad. He actually said this one thing that you just have to laugh at, because he said that he keeps talking about this story where a woman brings up 2 apples in a grocery store, and they're like, no, you can't afford them. You have to take one of those apples back. She's like, oh, okay. And Donald Trump says he returns it to the refrigerator. Obviously, this guy's never been in a grocery store. Apples are not refrigerated, but doesn't matter. It's just, the guy's a moron. But most fascists are. I mean, even the leaders of fascist movements are stupid. Hitler was an idiot. So was Mussolini, so was Franco. But appeal to a frustrated middle class definitely applies to Donald Trump. There's this feeling that people get that they're not getting anywhere in life. under the government, and they think that somehow this is being taken away from them by immigrants, or it's being taken away by the liberals, and they're, blah 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 about, what is a liberal democracy, and or it's been taken away by the enlightenment thinkers, or the you know intellectuals that, if they could just have their way, they would just be swimming in money, and those other people that the undesirable non-worker communist assholes. That's another thing. The connection to communism is um, pretty apparent. That fascism hates communism, and this is why I don't say Donald Trump is a communist. He's a fascist. He falls on that side. He says that his opponents are fascist communists all the time. I mean, he literally says that in verbatim. He says these. I think he called Joe Biden and Kamala Harris these far left liberal fascists. Fascist communists. Anybody who has any education about these things know that fascism and communism are mutually exclusive. They had a big war over it. I mean, people were fighting, giving their lives for these ideologies. It might be good to understand these ideologies before you start shooting your mouth off. Obsession with the plot, enemies of this. Oh, here's a good one. Enemies are at the same time too strong and too weak. This is so much. It's so readily apparent in Nazi Germany, where one person put it as they are subhuman and superhuman at the same time. The Jews, of course. Somehow they are able to pull off these great, magnificent plots that somehow fool all the German people into thinking that Hitler attacked Russia when it actually was the Jews. I mean, people actually believe this crap, or at least Rudolf Hess did. But the weird thing is then when the Jews were in the ghettos, they were seen as completely weak, slovenly, animalistic kind of, subhuman. So they're subhuman and superhuman at the same time. And you look at Donald Trump and the way he talks about his enemies, it's the same thing. Joe Biden can't walk upstairs. Joe Biden can't do anything right. But man, that son of a bitch can steal elections like nobody's business, can't he? I mean, he stole an election in 2020 without leaving any evidence. No evidence. You think there'd be a paper trail or a memo sent to somebody? Hey, you got to pick up the fake ballots here, and you have to deliver them over there, and you have to do this, and you have to. No evidence. Donald Trump, however, does have evidence of election fraud. The fake elector scheme, the Raffensperger call, and January 6th, they were all intended to stop the results of a free and fair election, which fascists are eventually going to have to go after democracy, because democracy is rule of the people. Fascism is rule of that one particular guy, and the belief in everything he says, no matter how ridiculous. You won the election. Oh, okay. They're eating my pets. Oh, okay. Obama was born in Kenya. Okay. It doesn't matter. It keeps going on. The guy just lies, and his followers believe him. That's kind of a key to fascism. Anyways, so I hope this has made sense, and the battery's getting low, so I'm going to call it here. Thank you for listening. Turn off, you son of a bitch. Hi, it's me again. I'm just gonna wrap up my previous rambling, lecture, whatever you want to call it, and just say there's a few more things I wanted to touch on. Um, these aren't really aspects of fascism directly, but they do have strange parallels to Donald Trump and Adolf Hitler. Both of them, for example, tried to overthrow the government. The beer hall putsch and January 6th were both attempts at uh, getting the government together so you can have a violent coup. And they were both just incredibly stupid and badly organized and weren't going to succeed. They had a snowball's chance in hell, but they did it anyways. And that's something that both Trump and Hitler have in common. Both, now that Trump is picking his cabinet members, this is late November 2024, and we're watching Trump pick his cabinet members. And there's a lot of similarities between that and Hitler. Basically, all the cabinet members are just a, a hodgepodge of incredibly weirdos and like lowlifes that wouldn't be in government except for one thing. They only have one trait that gets them that high into government: loyalty to the leader. You look at Ernst Röhm, you look at Himmler, Hess. We talked about Hess. You look at Goebbels. Goebbels is now that I'm on the subject of Goebbels, I don't know how to pronounce it because I don't speak German. Um, I do want to say, Goebbels was known for saying, how does it go? I should really prepare ahead of time, shouldn't I? No, he said that if you're going to, the people will more easily fall victim to a big lie than to a small one. And Trump actually is known for the big lie. And I'm not saying that in itself is fascism. It's just a lot of similarities. And the big lie, of course, is election denialism, which is so stupid. I mean, it is just like only an idiot would believe that Donald Trump won the election in 2020. There's no evidence. But it goes on. You might as well just say, we're just going to go with the biggest lie possible, because a lot of little lies, they get nitpicked but anyway, so the cabinet members and the people he surrounds himself, just like Adolf Hitler, there's, just a bunch of idiots, and they're just toadies. They're sycophants. They don't debate. They don't question. They just follow blindly and say, yes, yes, Mr. Trump, you're right. You did win the election. Anyways, both are. Oh, this is interesting. I had this thought the other day. This is not one of the scholastic uh, views of fascism, but we talked about how the enemy is seen as superhuman and subhuman. The leader is also has this dynamic that is self-contradictory, and that is they are both the hero and the victim simultaneously. And actually, this is talked a little bit about in Umberto Eco, I think, and some other scholars on fascism. But it goes like this: if you ever watch videos of Adolf Hitler giving the speeches, and as you know, I don't speak German, so I have no idea what he's saying, but you can watch his body language, and it's just, that's my impression of Hitler. Thank you very much. There, he looks like the poor guy. It's like, why is everybody being so mean to this guy? He's like obviously just struggling so hard. Like his book, My Struggle. It's like, oh, just, nobody will let me do what I need to do. It's like, dude, you're the fucking Grand Chancellor of Germany. And it's the same thing with Donald Trump, he becomes president of the United States, but somehow he's still a victim. So you're simultaneously the victim and the hero, just constantly like going vacillating between those two points. And the cognitive dissonance in any thinking person's mind would just break. It's just like, dude, you're either the hero and you're triumphing, or you're the victim and you're failing. But pick a lane. Uh, also, I want to conclude by saying, that Donald Trump follows the main tenets of fascism: single solitary leader, that's unquestioned. He just demands complete loyalty, restore the nation to some former glory. That's Adolf Hitler just did that. He just promised he's going to make Germany great again. Um, Mussolini had the fasces. That's where fascism gets its name. Saying he's going to make it like the great Roman Empire. He's going to turn, but there's never any discussion on what the hell he's talking about. How are you going to do that? Why do you want to do that? You really want to go back to ancient Rome? I mean, we got cars now. I mean, the aqueducts, they were great. They were marvelous engineering aqueduct, but we don't want to go back to ancient Rome. And like in America, it's like, what time do you want to go back to? You want to go back to where women can't vote, or blacks were slaves? I mean, pick a time and then tell us how you're going to get there. But that would cause too much intellectual discussion, and they don't like that, because that's fascism. So delegitimizing the press is the third big uh, tenet of fascism. So all of these, that's fascism. You go through the list, and you can apply it to Adolf Hitler, especially, most of it to Mussolini, and you can apply these things to Donald Trump. That's why I say Hitler is. that's, that's why I say Hitler is a fascist, because I'm going out on a limb, and I'm going to say that Hitler was a fascist. No, that's why I'm saying Donald Trump is a fascist. Um, because I can make the case. Can you make the case that he's not a fascist? Yeah, yeah, you can, debate anything like this. And there are some things I would grant you that Donald Trump, not exactly fascist in the, for instance, the um, Nuremberg. Okay, you see like the marching and the choreography and the organization, the discipline, that these people are in shape. They're like the Ubermenschen. They just, it's very militaristic. And you look at a Trump rally, not so much. Um, okay, you can say, well, Donald Trump doesn't have these great triumph of the will, Lenny, not Lenny, Riefenstahl uh, couldn't make a triumph of the will from a Trump rally. It maybe triumph of diabetes, and I'm sorry, all the people that I just insulted by saying, if you have diabetes, I don't care. I don't care, because you're a fucking fascist, and I have diabetes, and you people, not exactly the prototype of the Aryan Superman. Anyway, so there are some things. Militarism. A lot of fascist scholars say that overt militarism is a major tenet of fascism, and you could make the case that Donald Trump isn't that militaristic. But I would say you see a lot of his followers, the guys that have like AR-57s when they're going to Dunkin' Donuts, and they have like ammo all clipped to them. And they're like, "Yeah." Those guys are always Trumpers. I mean, they're not the you know they're not the Sieg Heil, like, but they're definitely militaristic. And yeah, so I don't think that really works. But you could make the case that Donald Trump is not as militaristic as Mussolini and Hitler. But of course, Mussolini and Hitler were gearing up for the Second World War, so there was that kind of going along with it. Um, but Francisco Franco, he was also militaristic. You can make the argument that Donald Trump isn't militaristic enough to be a fascist. I wouldn't buy it, but I would say that that would be a good argument. And to end this, I would say if you have any comments, please, if you want to debate whether or not Hitler is, I keep doing that. Whether or not you want to debate that Donald Trump is a fascist, please put them in the comments below. Uh, please like and subscribe. I guess I'm supposed to say because it's supposed to be a YouTube video. Um, and yeah, well, I'll try to get to those comments and debate whether or not Donald Trump is a fascist. I think I can easily win that debate though, and I tried to show you my skeletal structure of what fascism is at the core, and show you that Donald Trump falls into that pretty conclusively, but his rallies not triumph of the will quality. Anyways, God bless America, and I'll talk to you later.